Welcome back to the BraveCo podcast, men. Hey, before we get started, I want to ask you one quick question. Do you have a really clear plan to build a strong, capable, powerful leader that God's called you to be? If you don't, we have the course for you. It's our BraveCo Foundations of Masculinity and our Sexuality and Relationship course. These are free courses that we've created that you can literally go and sign up today. The best part of these is you get access to our community, right? So you can go, and if you want to run with other men who are crushing it in life, there's tons of guys there that you can jump into a course with, or we even have conferences and events that we do all year long that you can check out. But listen, I want you to go back and think about this. If you don't have a clear plan, if you don't have other guys that you're running with, if you don't have a clear pathway to how do I grow myself as a man? How do I step into my calling? What is my code, my ethos? What does it mean? How do I set healthy boundaries? How do I show up for my wife? How do I do emotion-based communication that creates deep connection in my family, in my marriage? Guys, we lay it out so simply for you. And honestly, I've seen so many men go through this and get complete healing on the other side. So we want to give that to you for free. You can go to braveco.org and sign up today. We live in a time where masculinity is shamed and men don't know what it means to be a man. As a pastor and counselor, I've spent the better part of my life equipping and training others. My goal with this show is to translate my hard-earned experience into tools and tactics to help you become stronger as a man. This is the BraveCo podcast. I'm your host, Jason Valentin. Welcome back to the BraveCo podcast, men. This week, I'm here with a great friend of mine, Greg Hendricks. If you don't know Greg, which most of you probably do, Greg is an incredible man, incredible father, incredible husband, incredible minister. Greg's been a pastor for a long time. He was a professional athlete. He's a chaplain for the NFL and just a stud of a man. Greg, thanks so much for being on the BraveCo podcast, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Honor and privilege always to sit with my bro, sit with BraveCo. Let's go.
Thanks, man. Yeah, this year we get to run together a bit. We're putting on a conference out here at Bethel Church in Redding, California. And you've been with me for the last 3 years. Last 3 years or the last 2 years with this conference? Yeah.
This will be my third year. Yep.
Yeah, this will be your third year. Yeah. And man, what God's doing in the hearts of men is so incredibly impactful. And we're really excited. So our conference coming up June 11th through the 13th, for those of you that are interested. But every single year, God puts a different theme in our heart. And like the first year that we did the BraveCo conference, we broke a wild horse with Todd Pierce, and we had John Eldridge come out here. And it was awesome because it literally was like restoring the heart of a man and just getting guys healed. Like John went so deep with guys, man. It was just phenomenal. And then the next year we had John Bevere, and that conference was all about purity. It was all about the presence and purity. And man, it was so cool because that was the first year that we brought the games to BraveCo, these massive team challenges, team games. And we did everything inside of groups, which we can talk about a little bit in a sec. And then, so that really felt like the holiness and purity that John Bevere carries was a lot of what that conference was about. Last year we did, we had, Steve Weatherford out. And our theme for last year was Rise Up. It was like, all right, guys' hearts have been healed. We're running after holiness and purity, being set apart. And now we got to rise up. We got to take some ground. And we really, again, hit that hard. Steve was awesome. Banning was awesome last year. You spoke last year. My dad spoke. Bill spoke. I mean, it was stacked. The field was stacked. And that conference was legit. Yeah, it was.
It was stacked.
We introduced something last year that we hadn't done before, which you guys are going to, you're going to see a theme is that we don't just do the same thing just because it was successful the year before. And that's been massive just in my heart and the team's heart of there's a lot of people that are playing the same play because it worked yesterday, but really diving in and digging into what's the season, what's God doing, where's the juice at. And so last year, man, we just saw a big opportunity to do a rite of passage with kids 12 to 18 years old. And so we set up this 3.1 mile tough mudder course. And man, I will tell you what, probably one of the most, it's definitely the top 10 most impactful like ministry moments in my life of watching these kids go through the mud, climb over these obstacles, suffer, win, pull each other through hard places while these leaders and fathers and brothers gather around them and like cheer them on. And just watching this struggle of young men get initiated and welcomed into manhood. Holy smoke. So that was one thing this year where we said, okay, we're not ever not doing that. That's a
Right.
non-negotiable in our
That's
book.
right.
Like stepping up as men, as fathers, and giving these young men a chance to be seen, be recognized, be challenged, be welcomed into manhood was just so incredibly impactful. Well, this year when we're sitting down, really talking about and thinking about the conference, what God wants to do, where God's bringing men into, it really felt like we're in this spot where we have risen up, we've got our hearts healed, and not that everything's perfect, but this is the path that God has put us on through the years of John Eldridge getting the heart healed, getting purity, rising up. This year, I heard this theme, this phrase in my mind, and it was like a lion. And I really feel like this is the season where men will step up and take authority, occupy the land that you've taken, and step up, rise up like a lion, and to show up in the sphere that God's given you. And every year we have kind of a biblical theme. It's just the way that it's worked out. We've always kind of like, man, what's the story? What's the key story? What's the key verse? What's the, what are the analogies? Last year was Nehemiah. It was rebuilding the wall. We did a lot on what does it look like to rise up and to rebuild the different areas. This year, the biblical view of this is David, the King David's life. And
Right.
I'm really excited, Greg, because I also feel like this is what God's doing, not just here in BraveCo in Redding, California. This is what God's doing, I feel like, in our nation, is calling us men to take back authority and to occupy the land that we've taken and to really step into that place of authority as men. And so I'm really excited because it feels like this is a prophetic like act, statement, movement for what God's doing in our country, but what he wants
Right.
us as men to step up into. So I'm super excited about this year.
Man, as you should be. I think it just seems like it's perpetually gotten better and better each year with the
Mhm.
different themes, the additions of the games, the rite of passage. I'm really excited to see like all the men that converge upon Reading, for these, few days, how they're gonna walk away transformed, encouraged, equipped,
Yeah.
and ready to take ground, and be like a lion that steps in and responds to what God is calling the men in this hour to do. And I believe that in a in tandem with that, I feel like God, the word that the Lord has been giving me since early last year, and really the theme of this year is to be a man of response and not reaction,
Mm.
and how he's calling men to be responsive in this next season. And like when a lion sees an opportunity to take ground, hunt, give food. They respond, and they respond with strategy. They respond, with a plan of going about getting what's in front of them and um, accomplishing what's in front of them, whether it's taking down another animal or feeding their pride. And so I feel like God is calling men in this hour to be men of response. And what does that look like? And there's a difference between responding and reacting. I think a
Mhm.
lot of men tend to feel like if they react, then they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but it's really based out of reaction and not responding. Reaction is based out of the reflex of your flesh. Your response is based out of your relationship with God. So when you respond to how God has wired you, what God is saying to you, your initial DNA, what you're designed in, is responding to the call of God on your life. And I feel like that's the charge for men in this
Yeah.
hour. Is God is calling men. I don't want you to react anymore. I don't want you to be a man of reaction. I want you to be a man of response in this next season. So I'm excited, man. I'm really excited for what God's going to do this season. And if it's any, you know, reflection of what has happened over the last, 4 years, I'm like, wow, we just leveling up as we go each year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's true. When you talk about being a man of response instead of a man of reaction, I think the beautiful picture in that is being able to take a look at your life and to create an ecosystem in your life of
Mm-hmm.
health, of growth, of wholeness. And it's all about, to me, being able to look at the areas in your life where there's pain, look at the areas in your life where you need some growth. I was just doing a marriage counseling appointment right before this podcast, and right now in my life, I love counseling married couples. I just love it because there's so much
Right.
strategy in it, and
Right.
and you're ultimately creating an ecosystem. You're just like, you're talking about what you do this and it has this effect. You do this and it has this effect, right? And so this
Mm-hmm.
couple was telling me they've been doing better and better and better. They neither of them had really great tools growing up. Neither of them had a really great model for marriage. And so, of course, you only have the tools that were given to you or that you somehow created. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. And so they were talking about how they had got into this really nasty, disconnecting argument, and it lasted like 2 days. And then they finally repaired it. And so they wanted to talk through it again, which is awesome. It's one of my favorite things. And I said, "Oh, guys, it's so cool that that happened to you." I'm kind of a freak like that. I like that kind of stuff. I'm so glad it happened to you because this gives us the ability to look at the cycle in your marriage, because it's like you can stop this cycle anywhere you want to. That's what people don't realize, is that that doesn't have to go all the way. It doesn't have to do 3 days. Like, you could stop the
Mm-hmm.
cycle if he would have said, "Man, I just feel so angry that you didn't show up on time and you always do that." She can stop the cycle by going, "Hey babe, I really love you. I want to hear where you're at. I don't
Right.
think I can have this conversation at this level. Would you like to explain to me where you're at again in a way that doesn't make me feel, blamed or judged?" Like, she could stop that cycle right there, or she can keep it
Right.
going by going, "Well, you're the one that's supposed to be leading this family and you're the one that doesn't show up on that." Right. And now we just like back in that same. And so when I started to like take them back through, let's talk about, how did you start this conversation? Let's talk about why you weren't able to stop the cycle here. Let's talk about why, and then what's our plan for next time, right? What I love
Yeah.
is we always think as men that somehow we're supposed to have all this stuff figured out. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel shame because I don't know how to have perfect conversations with my wife every time. I feel shame
Mm-hmm.
because I sometimes blow it with my kids. I feel shame because I don't always show up at work the way that I want to. And what I like is being a man of who responds isn't a man who doesn't make a mistake.
That's
It's
right.
a man that maximizes his mistakes. So you make a mistake, and now that mistake becomes a catalyst unto growth in my life because I use it as a tool to reflect back. And this
That's
is
good.
why, guys, this is why feedback is key, right? Feedback is the mother of learning. If the couple that I was working with, if they couldn't handle feedback, then they just want to hide it and they want to brush it under the rug. But instead, they get me to look at both of their roles. What did you do?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do? Where did you miss it? Where did you miss it? Where can you grow? Where can you grow? And then I have them practice in front of each other. I literally did. I said, okay, listen, can you practice now that you know? Can you start this conversation again with her? The one that got you off track. Can you start that all over again? And he's like,
Right.
yeah. Let me do it. So he started in again. I said, man, that was so great. Use these 3 words every time you start. Hey, babe, I love you so much. That's the key to breaking the old
Whoa.
cycle, my man, right? Like, so that's him stepping into a place where he's a ready, capable, able man because he's weaponizing this failure over here and going,
Right.
I can't just sweep this under the rug because of my shame. There's a real opportunity of growth, and that's in
Mm-hmm.
getting an expert to look at it. I'm fully exposed. Adam, why are you here hiding? Lord, because this woman. No, when God gets to go, hey, let me look at your life. See me, God. This is the life of David. Know me, see me,
Mm-hmm.
search me, God. Reveal to me what's going on because I am a man after your heart. I'm not a man after my comfort. I'm not a man after my own desires. I'm not a man who's after selfish things. I'm after a man after God's own heart. Search me, know me,
That's right.
lead me in the way that I should be going. And so to me, guys, I love this word, Greg, because it really is a word of the season for men is be a man that is ready to respond. And
There
that
you go.
response is it's the guy who's learned karate. It's the guy who's learned jujitsu. It's the guy he's not fighting something all the time. He has prepared and trained his body for battle, his
That's
hands
right.
for war. That way, when the battle it comes, he is only responding. He's
That's
not
right.
necessarily reacting.
Reacting.
He's already created this system inside of him, this ecosystem that has an answer. Anyways, I love it, bro.
So good. So good. Yeah. And you hit it right on the head, man. I think that's why in this hour, how God is calling men to really understand what responding looks like and
Mm,
don't stuff down the fact that you're going to make mistakes, you're going to stub your toe, but these are all learning opportunities for
mm,
you to grow and to be weaponized in your maturity as a believer in Christ, as a man, as a father, as a husband.
yeah,
You understand that when you start to craft what a healthy response from the position of God as a man looks like, you'll start to understand, even when you don't quite hit the mark. Like my man in your example right there is like, oh, okay, well, you know what? I actually have the ability now. I have been weaponized now. If my disposition is a disposition of response, I actually been weaponized to walk out maturity in this next hour, to inherit maturity, to inherit a new understanding of how I'm uniquely designed in God, how I can be a better dad, how I can be a better husband, how I can be a better friend, how I can be someone where people see me and they don't not only see Christ in my life, but they can see Christ in the cracks of my life. And
mm.
I can see Christ in the cracks of my
Yeah,
life.
that's great, bro.
Even though I deal with something like this, God is still moving in my life. I think a lot of people tend to get wrapped up if you don't have it all figured out, or maybe you fall in a certain part of your season of your life that God is just going to throw you away. No, actually, He's actually maturing something in you, because what He's probably doing is He's really drilling down in you, like how to get over pride, how to
Mm,
get over selfishness. And I always say, like, to tell people, man, pride makes excuses, but responsiveness makes adjustments. So if you know how to respond, you'll know how, okay, how can I adjust in this next season? How can I adjust with health? I don't have to be soft. I don't have to be willy nilly, but I do have to be yielding and surrender to be able
yeah.
to make a healthy adjustment so that my manhood actually comes into what it's
Mm,
supposed to be, which is a relationship with God. So I'm really excited that the Lord in this hour is calling men to respond. one of the stories, and there's so many different stories in the Bible about reacting and responding,
Mhm.
but the one that has been really like just ministering to me, man, is the one where Peter and Jesus and all of the disciples are in the garden, and he tells the disciples to pray. They're not praying. So automatically they're in a bad state,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
especially when the Roman detachment shows up. But it's cool because there's three different parties represented. You got the disciples, which represents the quote unquote believers. You got the Roman detachment, which represents non-believers. Malchus, non-believer. You got Jesus, who is obviously self-explanatory. And Peter, in his zeal and what he thinks is appropriate, pulls out his sword, cuts this man's ear off, and Jesus says this to him, Peter, put your sword away. Shall I not drink from the cup that my father sent me? Shall I not respond to what God has put me on this earth to do,
Yeah.
which is to die for humanity? And so, but it's a crazy prophetic picture of when men or people respond. When you respond, you're doing the will of the Father, even in the midst of pain, even in the midst of storm, which you may think. In Peter's case, he's reacting and he cuts this dude's ear off. And it's a prophetic picture that if you are a man of reaction, you can actually cut the ability of someone's life to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's like a prophetic
Mm.
metaphor, like you're
Yeah.
cutting off their ear, you're cutting off their ability to see and hear what the gospel is supposed to be for a man, what the gospel is supposed to be for a believer. So I feel like God in this hour is really calling us to respond because our brothers and sisters are watching, just like Peter's brothers and sisters are watching. The Roman detachment's watching, like, oh, is this how a follower of God gets down? Is this what we doing? Well, we gonna let's start warring. And Jesus is like, man, put your sword away, like put your reaction away. And your sword, you may not even got a sword, man. You may be your sword may be your social media
Yeah.
or your funky attitude or your lack of inability to say, I'm sorry, or hey, you know what? Let me try that again, babe.
Mm.
Babe, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Whatever your sword is, you could be cutting ears off left and right. You don't even know it. And God is like, put your sword away. Like, start responding from the disposition that I have with you. So, man, I'm super pumped about what God is going to do at this hour. And I feel like in this season, God is calling the men to be a men of response in this season.
That's great, man. One of the things that I love about gathering together as men is there's something that happens when you come and you belong to a tribe. And
Yeah.
the there's very few men right now that feel like they belong to a tribe, even if you go to a church. It Because there's so much disconnection from like, yeah, I go to this church, but these are my tribe of men that I'm running with. These are the guys that are sharpening me. These are the guys
Mhm.
that are challenging me, that are pouring into me, that are helping me grow. And when we started to really build out our conference, honestly, I've been doing conferences forever. You've been doing conferences forever, Greg. And I've just seen so much where we create these moments that set us up on this high peak, but they're not lasting moments. And I think the hard part of watching people come in and drop and come in and drop, we started to take a look at like, man, how could we be more successful in creating these catalytic moments that lead to growth, that lead to transformation, that lead to connection. And so, guys, part of what we did is we just went like, what would I want at a conference? Well, I want to sit with a group of men that's fired up that are on my team. So we have, when you come to our conference, you're in a group of 50 guys. You got
Right.
leader, you got co-leaders. Those guys have a plan for you. You got team colors. You sit together and you rotate throughout the conference. It's awesome. It's awesome because those guys are intentional. They want to get to know you, but they also want your strength. They want you to come and pour into the man that's next to you and lend your strength. We do a lot of the ministry time inside of those groups. So why I really like that is You're not like hoping that some guy's going to pray for you. The guy that's at the front speaking is going to like call you out. Like, you know that you're going to have this awesome encounter with God, with the
Right.
man sitting next to you. And also, you're going to have a chance to pour into him spiritually and emotionally. And like every guy there, the last day when I'm like, man, how was your time here? They're like, bro, it was insane. I got so many words. I prayed for so many guys. I had so many moments. We did this thing. We did that thing. Like, we're super practical with what we do. We added the games. So the BraveCo games, these challenges and competitions, we added those the second year because we saw what happens when, if you're trying to bond men together, there's like one of two ways you can do it. You can put them in war, or you can put them on a field to try to hit a target. I don't care if that's golf or basketball or soccer. You got to give men a target to hit and a team
Right.
to do that with. And as soon as you do that, there's a way that I trust you after catching a football, after beating you in golf, after hitting a tennis ball back and forth with, like, there's a way that I trust you that I don't trust you and bond with you just sitting on the pew next to you for 10 years. There's guys that go to church together for 10 years and they don't have a bond the same way that if you play 2 games of soccer, football, basketball, you dunk on me. Okay, I see you. I got you. We sweat together. It creates this incredible bond, man. And it's awesome. The first year that we did the games, bro, I'm seeing guys that haven't ran in 15 years run.
Oh man, for real.
I'm seeing guys who are laying it all out on the line and they forget, right? They're in the middle of the game and they forget, like, oh, dude, I'm just like, I'm at a men's event. I'm at a men's call.
Right.
I forgot I'm not in the NFL anymore. You know, it's awesome.
It
And so
is. It
again,
is.
we're just creating this camaraderie, creating these moments for men to belong to a tribe, a team. And kind of the cool thing about our conference too is we're not just having speakers come in that are awesome that speak on whatever they want. There's a place for that. It's podcasts. It's, Sunday morning,
Right.
pastor wants to preach on whatever he wants. We have a very intentional theme from start to finish that when you start that conference, we have a plan for you. And you're going to go all the way through. Last year, we had a battle plan. So every single speaker delivered a piece of the battle plan so that when guys finished, they had this plan that they were working on. And this year, we have a theme that we're running all the way through our conference that, man, when you're done, you're going to go from David, the bastard, who's out in the field, tending sheep. His brothers don't like him. His brothers don't want him. He doesn't feel anointed, to the David who's conquered the lion. He's conquered the bear. He's conquered Goliath. He's had the season in the cave where he's become a king. That was David's cave season. That's what launched him into his kinghood. He's got his brotherhood around him, and he establishes God's presence back in the kingdom. That's what David did. So we're going to take you men all the way through that journey, equip you, empower you, and launch you into that. Oh, and by the way, if you have a son, there will be no greater moment, no greater catalytic moment probably in his life so far is when he comes and goes through the conference with you and sees how the other men and other son partner with him. Guys, I just want to tell you something. It's one thing for you to pour into your men. It's one thing for you to, we need to. That's a must. You're the first one that gives them identity, that speaks to them, gives them courage, that's launching them. It's another thing. It's another level when you get this group, this tribe of men that look at your son and say, I'm here for you. I'm going to pour into you. I'm going to speak this word. You're on an obstacle. Dad's not here with you. You've got me. I'm going to speak into you. I'm going to impart courage into you. Guys, I'm telling you, this is an investment into your son that I don't know that there's a greater investment right now that especially bang for your buck to get you into this moment where your son starts to see the strength of another man in this way. It's phenomenal.
It really is, and I love that was honestly, for me, that was probably the most precious portion of the entire gathering was that, seeing those young men, like, pull for each other too, because a lot of them didn't have, like, friends. They came with their dad, but a lot of them didn't know each other, but they're going through this mutter course, and it's pretty rigorous, and like you were
Yep.
saying, even about the dads, not only did none of the dads work out, but you saw, like, some of the kids, this generation, they don't go out and play
Yep.
anymore. They're in their house, and that's this generation. That's their version of, hey, I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna get on my Xbox, or I'm gonna do something
Yeah.
online, or I'm gonna, engage whatever my video games. But you saw a lot of kids who physically were
Mhm.
being pushed way beyond their limits,
Yeah.
and you had other kids pulling them across, getting them across,
Mhm.
helping them, strengthening them, and then you had the dads on the sidelines just cheering them on, and it was just really moving, man. Really, really moving. And I would encourage men that are listening to this, that are watching this, bring your sons. Like, it is one of the greatest investments you will have in your kids is to bring them there. And in addition to that, like what you were saying about the games and all these men competing, it's kind of like you develop this bond in the very short span of like 2 to 3 days, man, and it's really cool. You walk out like with covenant brothers. Like, man, we were shoulder to shoulder in the trenches, doing these games. A lot of these guys ain't never exercised in the last, 10 months, 6 months, whatever. And, they're like gassed, completely gassed. And you got other guys helping them out, pushing them along through these games. And it going back to where your theme is coming from David's life, I look at how David and Jonathan were. Jonathan was his covenant brother, man, and they just
Yeah.
formed this bond, and they were so close. Even though Jonathan was Saul's son and was the guy that was supposed to take over, but David was the king, and he had such a deep affection for Jonathan and vice versa. That's the type of bond that you're gonna have when you come to this type of gathering. It's not like, hey, you're coming and you're gonna listen to these speakers and everything. And it's not that vibe. The vibe is you're gonna come and you're gonna gain a family of brothers that are gonna
Yeah.
sharpen you, and that it's not a mountaintop experience where you come and you just, all right, I heard Bill Johnson speak, or I heard this person speak, and it just changed my life, which probably can happen. But I
Yep.
promise you this: you will get more growth and traction in the conference with the men that are in your group,
It's true.
with watching the boys run through the mutter course. You're going to see more growth happen in your maturity to respond as a man in this hour with the intimacy of your groups, the intimacy of the conversation. So, man, I'm going to encourage you, man, come with your guard down. Don't come in here like, oh, I can't be real. I got to be, have this guard up, or I got to have this facade. Come with your guard ready to come down, because the more you're able to surrender and allow yourself to be vulnerable, the more you're going to walk away empowered
It's
and
very cool.
equipped to be a man of response in this hour, just like David was, man. David didn't need a throne to act like a king, bro. He was already acting like a king before
It's
he
true.
got sent into war, with Goliath. And I love the fact that there was these principles that God was drilling down in this man. So when he did mess up, because he had some, he did some foul stuff, bro. Like, he did some
Yeah.
really foul stuff. And when he did mess up, he knew how to align himself back with the heart of God. He understood repentance, which takes a lot of humility. He understood worship, which
Yeah.
takes a lot of surrender. And so I encourage you, men, when you come ready to grow, not in the way you think you're going to grow by just hearing conference speakers. Come ready to grow because you're going to be with a band of brothers who are going to have their guard down. And that when your guard is down and you're in the midst of God's glory, man, really powerful things happen, man.
Come on, man. Listen, men, and women. I mean, there's a lot of women that listen to the BraveCo podcast
Yeah.
because the content that we're giving out is awesome for them with their husbands, with their sons, and just works for practical life too. Ladies, if you have a son and a husband, or just a son, this is an incredible Father's Day gift to your husband. This is the weekend before Father's Day is again June 11th through the 13th. We also have our BraveCo Gala on the 14th. So our gala is a way that we help fuel and fund BraveCo. We're a nonprofit. We are providing free discipleship courses for men, for churches. I mean, all over the world, really. We've had 100 churches, 130 churches sign up just since January onto BraveCo. We make all of that content for free because we believe so much in the mission. So our gala, we auction off hunts, we auction off Airbnb items, sports memorabilia, all kinds of really cool stuff at our gala. It's husband and wife too. So ladies, if you're coming out here to the conference, or if you live here in Reading, please come to the gala. You can find out all the information on how to register for the conference at braveco.org. We say this every single year. Men, if you can't afford it, if you can't afford to come to the conference, please let us know. We've never left any man out that wanted to come, that was serious about his growth, that was serious about raising up his son or his sons, or honestly, the boy next door. We had a lot of young men come last year that didn't have a dad that brought them, that had, makes me want to cry, that had some of their just spiritual fathers from church brought these boys that only, were being raised by a mom, which is so incredibly valiant, come and just watching what God did in their life is so powerful. So June 11th through the 13th is the conference. The 14th is the gala. Would love to see you there. We're taking all the excuses out of not showing up. If you need some help in that financially, please reach out and let us know. But Greg, thank you so much, man, for coming on here. You're just such a beast. That's why we're having you back at the conference. You are a BraveCo man, and you just carry the fire, the fuel. You have completely weaponized your story. And man, I just love what you're bringing. I'm excited to run with you this year.
Man, feelings mutual. I would tell the men, there was something on you, what you just said about the men. I heard the Lord on this. Men, there's some of you who know young boys that don't have a father in their life or a male figure where they can actually look up to, but you, for some reason, have access to them. I feel the word of the Lord on this.
Yeah.
I feel God prompting you right now. There's a boy's face that is popping up in a man's mind right now. You need to bring that boy. You need to bring that boy. You need to bring him to this conference. He may never get out from his situation. He lives in a single family home. He doesn't have very much, but you have the means and you have the influence to bring him to something like this. This is the word of the Lord for you. You need to respond to what God is prompting you by listening to this podcast and bring this boy, because not only will it impact him very profoundly and deeply, but probably more importantly, it's going to impact you because you're being obedient to what God has in store for your leadership in this young man's life. So I felt the word of the Lord on that one, man. Like, just as soon as you said it, something just leapt in me, man.
I agree with you, man. I do. I just think, what would happen if every man in there brought a boy? Brought one of his sons, brought a boy that didn't have the means or the ability. Like, it's what we do as men is we step up and we provide something that wouldn't otherwise happen without us there. And I really do. It's something I'm going to pray into. But guys, if you would pray into that, Lord,
Yes.
who's the young man that you want me to sow into in this season, and watch what God gives back to you. Greg, thank you so much again, man, for your time. I really appreciate it. BraveCo men, I'm looking forward to running with you at the BraveCo conference. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please forward it to your friends. Don't wait till the last minute to register, to sign up. Do it now. I will see you there. Have an incredible week. Stay brave, men. Hey, BraveCo men. Hopefully you loved this week's episode. Listen, if you have not subscribed to our podcast, you are already behind. Go ahead and click right here to subscribe to our podcast. And if you have not watched last week's episode, you can click right here and watch last week's episode. And listen, if you want to upgrade your wardrobe, you can check out some of our new hats that we have in stock and all our other swag. Go to braveco.org and you can look at our store there. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.